Hi, you are live with Lila and
Hi, I'm Ed.
hi, Ed.
Hi, Lila. Good to see you.
It's always good to see you. I was so happy to see you at my Verb Your Values workshop last month, and I know we all had a good time. And then your being there and your comments afterwards got me thinking about stuff that that would be really useful for me as I scale out my reach, my trainings, things that I'm doing for big companies. And we held it in a Zoom meeting because it was easy for me and I kind of know that platform. Having you there, having the other people in there, easy to see and access was cool, but it was also like a room of 20 people because I capped it. So just for the audience's reference, would you introduce yourself and why I'm asking you to help me think about
Of
training big
course.
organizations?
Yeah. I'm an executive at Zoho Corporation, helping drive an enterprise go-to-market strategy. So I'm helping companies scale up with our software or consider our software for use as the operating system of business. And in talking to Lila and this issue with, her growing customer base, how does she scale up her capabilities with a larger growing audience? And Zoho has solutions that address everything from customer experience to the back office, including finance and HR, as well
Ugh,
as things like meetings and
yeah.
trainings and when you have audiences as big as that you're drawing now, then you might want to have a better management of how you're displaying yourself to the audience, how you're showing materials to them, how you're engaging them, which is so important. And you're so great at
Yeah.
engagement. How do
Thank
we
you.
give you some tools to help empower and facilitate some of the engagement that you want to do in your workshops?
That engagement is vital. We talked about this when I reached out to you. It was like, in my acting training, you on purpose create these small groups so that we can have that intimate feeling, so that we can be vulnerable and open and share the kind of stuff that people do share when they're in the Say Things Better workshops that I host. So I want those spaces, but I want to create them at scale. I'm working with big companies. I've worked with Acuity Brands and the Dallas Mavericks and Merck and Fannie Mae and big companies that I can't just say like, "Hey, show up to my Zoom room and hope for the best." So I really wanted to get your feedback on just creatively having experienced the space that I create, the engagement that I want, that feeling with my guests and fellow learners, and wanting to translate that in a way that is scalable, replicable, and trustworthy. And that I could do some of the annoying, like tech back end stuff ahead of time so that I can trust it.
Yeah.
Or, like, let's be honest, have somebody else come in and set that stuff up for me from my team so that
Yeah.
I can just come in and do the work, but not worry about those things in the moment. So I'm a Zoho One user, which entitles me to a whole suite of Zoho offerings. And we want to talk about Showtime. I want to hear specifically about Showtime because it's a training platform. And I think that you can help me see what I'm doing and how I can do that even more so by using those tools.
Yeah.
But then also, I mean, I should be using it. I have it as part of my membership agreement or whatever. So
Yeah, as a
yeah,
Zoho
I
One
mean, why
subscriber,
not?
you get everything. I think you probably came in looking for CRM so you can manage your
Yeah.
growing list of
Or like
customers.
the base. I was like, give me the smallest version of a CRM, right? Let me just dip a toe in. And then I got hooked. It's like you have something for everything, and everything that you have is better than whatever I'm doing. So I was like, now I'm addicted. Now I'm like, Ed, or Keller. Keller is my account executive, or Sasha, who knows all of the products at Zoho and the culture and everything. I'm like, here's something I want to do. Here's a dream I have. Can Zoho power that? And you're like, yep, here's a tool. Yep, here's a tool. Yep, here's a tool.
Yeah,
So
it
now I'm
can
addicted.
it can be overwhelming, but it's good to know what you have so that it's there when you need it.
Yeah,
The great
exactly.
thing about Zoho One, it's probably less expense than any single one of 50
Oh
applications
yeah.
that we provide,
If
and you
I
get it.
can afford it, I'm like, Because I'm paying for a lot of, a lot of cheese mostly, but also
Is
coaching
that
and investing back into the business in ways that are really important. It's a decision for me. I mean, it's a decision for someone at every level in business,
yeah.
what things you purchase and with what parts of your budget. I didn't want to put so much money into things that I wouldn't be able to understand how to use or that would feel overwhelming. So just the way that we've been doing this and I've been learning one tool at a time has been like right there in my sweet spot. Having Zoho Concierge to help me and be like, let's walk you through this is really great. So I've
It's
appreciated that.
it's even a lot for me to keep track of being here.
Yeah,
But
well,
it's
you're
great.
new
Yeah.
too, right? Like
Yeah,
you're still kind of a new kid. You just started in March, right at the beginning of the pandemic, and
that's right. And now everything's
yeah,
gone virtual. So these virtual tools are
right,
very helpful.
yeah,
But do you mind if I share a screen here?
sure.
All right.
You'll
So
share your screen, then I'll add it.
yeah, there's a couple of things that you can look at with Zoho, and some of it is being able to do polls. So I don't know if I'm sharing right now. Can you see
Well, it
this?
looks very meta. This is like the Matrix. I mean, it's cool, but so why don't you just tell me about it?
All right. So, like, let's say you want to drive some audience engagement, and you
Hmm.
want to say, by show of hands, how many of you are working from home, right? That's easy to
Right, I
do.
do
Let's
that. Yeah.
say, if you have if you have a Zoom meeting or different things where you can see everybody, but when you get to 200 people, everybody's going to appear as these tiny boxes, or if you have it turned on so
Hmm.
that once people speak, it shows up. But it could happen when they cough or they move a piece of paper. So how do
Right.
you, as a moderator, control the engagement and the time frame in which you do it? Because sometimes you want a time box engagement just to make sure that you can finish your program in
Yeah.
time. Or you want to bring up some multimedia. You have some great videos that you've done already, and you
Yeah.
want to rehash that content, and you might want to give yourself a break. So you could post
Oh,
something up
yeah. You
on,
do things like drink something, like water, like or just scratch my face, or I don't know, just take a breath.
yeah. Then you can throw up a poll and say, have everybody do that, and then you can post the results there, and talk about the results, and that's engagement. You
And
can
I
throw
can
up a
plan these
poll.
polls ahead of time, right? Like
You
I
can do
can.
the polls ahead of time. You can have one of your folks put it up and be ready for it. You can even
Oh,
have
good.
questions and answers. So let's say you have a big audience, and questions come up as you're speaking, and they want to, say it in chat, or they want to say it as a question. Even your
Hmm.
folks can be answering the questions on the side, and you can look at it and say, oh, are these questions answered? Or if there's something that's very compelling to drive engagement, you can highlight, one of many questions. Let's say you had great engagement and you had 200 questions. You might not have the time to answer them all, but you want
So
to.
I have Zoho Analytics too, as part of my Zoho One membership or usership. The there are all kinds of options that I have in there, including Zoho Survey. So if, let's say, there are questions that I see that come up during a workshop, and I don't want to derail the training because we only have so much time. It's only, it's very focused and a lot of fun, and it's structured that way so that we do have space for exploring. But if there's a question that I feel is worth exploring in more depth, it doesn't have to happen there in that moment. I can take that question and put it into Zoho Survey, send it out through Zoho CRM, and like
Yeah,
have my people tell me what they want to learn
that's right.
and give me some of that feedback.
It's all connected, and I think that's
Yeah.
the beauty of it. Like, you can use these things as individual tools, as you
Hmm.
said, for training or a workshop, but you're multifaceted. You're training both people
Yeah.
that you've got, plus potential prospects that are in
Right.
there very
True.
curious.
Right.
And you want to be able to take those analytics, that feedback, that data, and plug them into your marketing software, which
Yeah.
comes with Zoho One, which could do email campaigns or even LinkedIn or social campaigns, track those analytics, those open rates,
It's so
those
much
engagements,
more, like the
and
ability to
then,
follow up too, right?
yeah,
After training, after having a workshop, like I'll keep copious notes of things that went on. And I'll want, because I'm a maximizer, I'll want to like put it all into a follow-up email that, you know, people don't read the same way. What I like about having the data in Showtime, the way that it would be there, is that I can use that immediately,
Mhm.
and pull something from it that is using insights, you know, using analytics. What are the things that are the most valuable? And using these polls, using the Q&A feature, I think would be good. I like that you brought up video. You know, I've had a brief demo of Showtime, but so you were in the Verb Your Values workshop. How creatively, just what kind of vision do you have for how I might integrate video into Verb Your Values, like into that workshop?
Well, I think, there's when I think about your verb values, you like to include, invite,
Yeah,
energize,
yeah,
ignite.
yeah,
You have several of these. I think
yeah.
that this can
All
help
me, sure.
all those. So
Yeah,
you have great videos that you could use, um, and it could be shown because you can upload it and then it shows without delay at the end user side to their client. So sometimes when
yeah,
you're
that
trying to
happens a
show a
lot. I don't even
video,
know how I would show that in Zoom, like at all, or any of these other platforms. So you can load it up ahead of time, and then
and
it
then
just
And when
clicks
it
right in.
plays, there's not delay, there's not audio, video desynchronization. So it shows up
Hmm.
for them as if it shows up for you. So sometimes when there's a disconnect between audio and video, it's like production value in a performance. You
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
sustain that disbelief, but in this case, you want to sustain that engagement and you want to draw the audience to the
right.
attention of your media versus to the glitch or the
How
disconnect.
many
So
videos can I have loaded up in the back end at one time? I don't expect that you'll know that off the top of your head, but I'm just like, Sasha, you know, like I've got some in the back end. Like, I don't know if
yes,
we'll get an answer on this quickly,
maybe we
but
can get an
I'm just
answer in the back
wondering.
end.
Yeah, no, this is really a
Yeah.
creative conversation, a brainstorming around what I can do. Because you're one of the most creative people that I know when it comes to serving big audiences, which is why you've been so successful at multiple different enterprise businesses. And thinking, what does that one customer want? What do they need to feel engaged? And then scaling that out, which is exactly what I'm trying to do. So if I think about videos and using them to reinforce a point. Let's say somebody's value comes up as to support.
Mhm.
If I have a video already in the back end as sort of a glossary, top 10 most used verbs as people's values, to empower, to support, to accept, to embrace, to enlighten, to motivate, to entertain. So if I have some of those pre-populated, when someone says something about to support, you know, I can pull up that video and play it, and
Yeah.
it's like I'm more responsive in that moment than I could be just explaining something. Maybe showing it. It's like showing somebody else, telling a story about their own value, and then bringing that in.
Yeah, and there's many different tools that you could use to do that. So I imagine that let's just say within a training profile, and we're doing
Hmm.
this within Showtime, you could have media that's attached to that particular training. But you can even
Hmm.
go beyond that and set up user profiles for offline self-help, right? And so you can engage an audience even without being there, not through
Yeah.
Showtime, but through different tools that we have with Desk and with CRM, which you can create these profiles for users and they can
So
access the
like an
material based
attendee,
on them. Yeah, let's say
somebody
you
who
have an
comes.
attendee. Let's say you have your own user base, you have your own subscriber base, and they
Yeah,
want to
and I
log
do.
into your website and get material. That's something that we can
Hmm.
facilitate. Um, and I think probably even a deeper conversation is we have a program called Creator, and anything that you can imagine, you can deploy on an app to a mobile device or to a browser. So,
Oh, that's
there's
exciting.
yeah, there's a lot of different things that are possible. But as you said, like let's take it step by step for the
Yeah,
things that
I
you
know. Like
want to do.
I have the tendency, as you know, to go like, here are all of my ideas. And like the great thing is that now that you're at Zoho, I've got this line in, right? To like,
That's right.
yes, we have a tool for that. Yes, we have a tool for that. For anything I can imagine, and I can imagine a lot, right?
That's
So
right.
this is all very exciting. But just for training, for keeping things moving, for keeping things engaging, for creating safe spaces, well, I guess I should ask you too. You know, I have some concerns just to make sure that there's security. I'm not recording most of my workshops because I want people to be able to feel free to express themselves in the moment. But I still want to keep that data and be able to sum it up. I'll still be able to, without recording a video of something, keep things like poll results or questions that were asked or the chat that occurred, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just got a note on the side from Sasha saying that there's an unlimited number of videos or PDFs that can add to a single training session. So probably more than you want to have consumed.
That feels like a challenge.
Yeah, but yeah, you can upload any number. There's no limit right now.
You know what I'm thinking though? Like you know what I'm thinking, right? I'm thinking as I go through this workshop and so many different people give me their responses in these trainings, that I then create content that gets added to the cache, new videos that get added every week, so that as soon as somebody comes up with a new verb, we make something for that and it gets stacked in there. And then eventually, I wonder how easy it would be to take, here are all the videos that I have in Zoho Showtime in this one training, in this one, section that I put it, and just pull that stuff over to Creator and say, now I want to make an app that has a verb glossary. That's a video verb glossary.
I didn't pass my creator developer course, but I'm going to try again. So I can't comment whether that's possible.
You know what? Like I don't know that I need to be the person to do that. I know that it's probably a pretty easy to use platform. You know, if Zoho has created it, what I like is that most things are pretty intuitive.
Yeah, it's pretty intuitive, and I don't want to say that it's difficult because I failed. I think it's more a testament to my.
You can do, you can fail as much as you want, like
5 days to get it.
Creating developer things, right? That's not gonna. If I'm really honest, that's not gonna be me on my team who's doing that.
I got another note from one of our moderators. It's very possible to do so in Creator. So
awesome.
Thank you for the support, Karupa.
if people watching are sensing a theme, it's yes and, right? Which is it's a concept in theater, especially in improv, where you imagine a possibility or somebody brings something up like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we could do this? Instead of contradicting them, you say, yes, it would be great. And we'll have to consider security, right?
Improv is a great theme, and considering, let's say, and security, that's very important to us as well. Security and privacy. So we don't own any of the data. We don't share any of the data. Even before security compliance, things like GDPR and CCPA, which protect user security, either with laws in Europe globally or in the United States. We are very much on the cutting edge of being secure and private and holding privacy and our companies very tightly. And so, we have that enterprise class grade for both security and privacy that
what does that mean?
Can bore you into.
No, I really want to hear this because I need to know, like, I'm very up here in the creative space. So I rely on my advisors like you, and I rely on the tech platforms that I use. I need to be able to just trust and forget it. I need to know that I'm working with the people who've already thought these things through. So give me the information. Like, what is it about security and privacy? I know about safe space, right, for sharing vulnerably, but I also want to be able to provide as a value, as a trainer for enterprise businesses. When your people are in my room, your information is confidential, that it won't go outside of this space, that it won't trickle over into other trainings that I do with other companies, and that they can really truly express themselves. So those are major concerns for compliance departments that are now getting involved with virtual trainings when they never have before.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big debate on privacy, because if you think about social media and you think about consumption, we think about the products that we use for free as the products, but the reality is we're the product. Our behavior, our activities. Sometimes those are tracked without your permission or without your knowing. And hence now, because of the laws, you always have that banner on the bottom saying, hey, please accept this privacy statement, these cookies. We're not doing that. We're not tracking that user information for marketing purposes. We just don't believe in that. So we believe that the value of our product should have it for themselves, and we're not harvesting that data either with or without your permission, right? I think before it was being harvested without your permission. We are on the far side of not collecting that data even
You just
for
like
you.
are not going to do that. I
We're
love
not going to
that
do it.
you are willing to stand on the integrity of the platform.
Yeah,
But I
we're
have
not
to
going to do it
ask
no
how you make
matter what the
money.
we make
Like
money by making great product. I mean, it's a big
you
question,
have
right?
to sell
Because
so many of them because it's very affordable. I mean, like major organizations are using Zoho for all of their training needs, all of their sales and HR and productivity and organizational every single level of business. Major enterprises are using Zoho, but it's not expensive for them any more than it is for me. So how are you doing that? How do you make money if you're not selling data and you're not overpricing things?
I think it's because we have low cost inputs that create low cost outputs. So if you look at Zoho, we don't do a lot of advertising, so you haven't seen it, but we have a lot of users that love our software, and so we
Yeah,
have a lot of
that's how I found out about it.
yeah, there's a lot of
It was
organic
before
growth.
you were there.
Yeah, before you'd
Yeah.
even heard of it, and then when you told me, oh yeah, I've heard of it, and you're there now, great, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, we're not spending a lot on what's called cost of acquisition marketing. So
Okay.
oftentimes, and this goes to the root of our company. Our company is private, and we're not taking outside capital. And oftentimes, outside capital is spent on cost of acquisition to pay for Google Ads. We're not spending any money on Google Ads right now. We used to, but it got expensive. But that cost savings is also
Mhm.
passed on. We have 8,000 developers or engineers in India where we have highly educated, highly trained workforce with a lower cost, not just because it's there, but because we're pushing out our workforce into rural areas where we believe that that's where we belong, where we can do good, and we're going to do the same in the United States. So you're not having that high real estate cost, you're not having the high
Yeah.
expense, you're not having the
And I
high
love the value
overhead.
that that brings to those communities too.
Yeah. And
We'll
what it
have to talk about that,
and
another
it
time when
translates directly to you, right?
it
Because
does,
now
because I'm
you
able
don't
to
have
afford
to,
it.
you can get everything that you want, but not pay more for it. So,
This
you
is what
know,
I want for my entire life.
I know, wouldn't that be great?
I've got like champagne taste on a beer budget, I want the best that there is. I want everything around me to be values aligned with me and my mission. I want everything around me to facilitate the things that I want to be able to do in order to help other people to say things better. I really want everything to serve that. So with and let's talk about Showtime and see if there are any features that I should be thinking about. I'm already thinking about polls and I'm thinking about pre-populating them. I'm thinking about Q&A and what I can do with those questions afterwards, and how to follow up through my CRM. I'm thinking about the user profiles and what I learn about people. I'm thinking about the security and the privacy and how I can proudly talk about that with my enterprise clients. And I'm thinking about videos and how not only can I have these videos be engaging and reinforcing of my training points while we go on, but then also what I could maybe do with those videos and all this content in Creator in another part of my business. So I'm already like massively creatively stimulated here. But are there any other features that are in the training platform Showtime that I should be thinking about?
You mentioned a whole bunch already. So you've got media,
You
you've
and I
got
go fast. We
handouts.
always do
Yeah,
this, right? Like,
you've got
oh,
user
handouts.
engagement. Yeah, handouts. So if you want to
Yeah.
do
Oh, can you talk
handouts,
to
like
me
they can
about that? Because
download
that is so annoying on
PDFs.
my existing platform. Like sometimes I can find the feature and sometimes I can't. I have multiple different handouts that I want to be able to use throughout a training. And then can I preload
You can
those
preload
and
those too,
people
and people
find
can
them in
download
one
them right
place?
there. Yeah.
I
So
want
they
people to be able to easily find them.
So I would say there's two places you could do it. So during training, and
Hmm.
then on your website, and they could be connected to the same
Right.
document storage. So another thing that you don't know is you have work drive. So you basically have terabytes of storage that you could use to share, or you could use to collaborate, or you could use to deploy. So that's yeah,
What?
yeah, there's a
Okay,
lot.
wait. No, I mean, but like this is what I'm talking about. Like
Yeah,
you've really thought of everything. And when I say you, I mean Zoho
yeah,
as
it's all
a
Zoho.
corporation.
I'm still discovering all that's there. And
No, but
I'm
what
getting
you
I'm
thought
getting
of is how
helpful.
I'll use this, right?
Right now I'm getting helpful tips from different from my colleagues that are saying, they said, this is also, you have this too. You have Click and you have Connect, so your colleagues can communicate to you in real time. So my colleagues that are watching and supporting me are saying, the security and compliance is part of our culture. It's part of our DNA. It's part of,
Yeah.
we'll do no ads ever. That is a statement. Like, it's beyond being compliant. It's a value. And I got
Yeah.
that support. Now, when you said, hey, what can you do? I got a Click message saying you can do this. So whether we're doing it on chat or whether we're doing this is what empowers, an enterprise, and it's what helps you sell to enterprises as well. So I think it's a
Yeah.
wonderful
I do need
discovery.
to be able to sell to enterprises. I need to have them know I take them and their needs seriously, which I assume also is why Zoho brought you in, because you know what the needs of enterprises are and you can speak to them.
I think I'm just
I'm
a well-liked fella.
You're
It
a
just fits
well-liked
in.
fella. My friend Lori Knudsen, who's also a client, who's also been in my workshops, who I think was actually at the Verb Your Values workshop that you attended, says, I never realized Zoho did all this. I thought of them as a CRM.
Yeah.
Lori, you and I are going to have a separate conversation, and I'm going to plug you in with Keller because, first of all, I know your budget. I know the people that you work with too. As a UMAP coach, Lori Knudsen is kind of a vocation whisperer for people who don't know what they should be doing in their career, and she's fantastic. So she's a certified UMAP coach. You know that I'm a certified UMAP coach, and I use mine for communication. She uses hers for helping people find their way in the world. And so I'm imagining all the ways that Lori can use it. So I'm going to hook her up with Keller. So
Yeah. I think we're
yeah,
well known as a CRM, especially for small business. But I think the
yeah,
way that we're trying to amplify. So if I think of my Verb Your Values after attending your workshop,
yes,
I'm trying to amplify. I'm trying to adapt, not myself adapt, but help other people adapt and empower themselves in this environment, and then connect. And in this case, for Lori and and other folks that know Zoho as a CRM, think about Zoho as the operating system of your business.
those are your values there. To amplify,
There you
to empower, to connect.
go.
Yeah.
So.
So fast on the typing here. I love this. Yes, Lori offers student and parent training as well. So let's talk about, for a second, I'd like to use this example because Verb Your Values is mine, but there are so many different training use cases. There are, now that everything is going virtual and students may potentially be in virtual learning
Oh
environments
yeah.
forever, not just, in elementary school, but it looks like this is something that we're exploring more of, the value of higher education and training for professionals, everything going virtual. So a tool like Showtime, where you can have that security confidence and have the ability to pre-populate things like, I don't know, a syllabus
Yeah.
or the agenda for a class or something. Do you see that just in the future this could be used in that way?
I think so. When you think about education, and I've got two college-grown kids, and they're now taking their classes online, but they're supposed to be in California. They're here in Texas, just taking it online. And
Yeah.
teachers and even us, I'm used to speaking publicly in front of an audience live,
Hmm.
but have to adapt to this environment and work with you to speak to customers virtually, which is a different skill set. And in a virtual skill set, you have different impacts to an audience that are also dealing with their environments, and you need to keep it short, engaging. You need to keep things both digital, virtual, mobile, because people are going to be in these areas that are very different than the paradigm of what we're used to before. So I
Right.
think these tools will help as educators, as trainers, even for corporate communication. It's going to evolve beyond what we're used to doing, and these tools will help you stretch your imagination to do things in a way in which your audience can connect more deeply to what you're trying to say,
That
and that
is
you
what I
can
want.
engage with them so that you can get
Hmm.
feedback and learn from them, and make richer content from the engagement. But again,
Yeah.
it's a
Like
current challenge, and
it's informing the quality of
yeah.
my content and my structure. Thinking about enterprise clients specifically, and maybe it's training for higher education or any kind of massive scale training. And when I say massive, I mean like maybe you'll have 200 people in a room, because you'll still want to bring people in waves and be able to handle some of those questions instead of just being overwhelmed by it. So let's say you cap it at like 200 people that you have in a Zoho Showtime environment for a training. One of the things that I know that enterprises have been looking to me for are saying, well, what have been the results from the beginning to the end of one of your workshops? And then what, right? So having tools that show me how I can implement a then what, are things that have come up in this conversation, but even just the results, doing, for me, for communication, doing self-assessments of competency. Choose one, two, three, four, on a scale of 1 to 4, how confident are you in communicating your message to your communication partner? On a scale of 1 to 4, with 1 being the least emotional and 4 being the most emotional, or 1 being the least and 4 being the most emotional, how emotional are you when someone gives you feedback?
Yeah.
Right? And so, like, asking questions like that at the beginning, and then giving tools that people are trained in, that they engage in using during the training, and then at the end of it, being able to ask that same poll again and use that data to show my clients and enterprises, this is how much value you got out of paying me for this hour,
That's right.
essentially.
Yeah, you definitely can connect that because you can connect the registration. We have, like, even not just for Showtime, but you have the setup to set up the registration, the invitations, the emails to get people in. You track those to the people that attend. For the people that attend, they're responding to the polls. You can say the differential between one to the next, and you can put it in a dashboard using Zoho Analytics that you set
I
up,
can
and
do
then
that.
every time, oh yeah, Zoho Analytics allows you to set up analytics dashboards that do that. It comes with Zoho One, so yeah.
Of course you
You
can,
you can
right?
imagine it.
Yeah.
I think, if we can help you accomplish it.
Then let's go down the rabbit hole for a minute, because you're a really great creative collaborator. So let's just do this. Let's just go with this for a second. Let's
Yeah,
take the 60 seconds to be like, and can I do this? And can I do that? Okay. So I take this dashboard of information about tied to the users, tied to the email addresses. I make this Zoho owns none of this and
that's right.
keeps
It's
none
all
of this.
yours.
It's all in my
Yeah,
platform. So whatever agreements that I have, my master service agreements with these enterprises will cover the security.
that's right.
And so with
You own
that
your
as a
data.
given,
Zoho never owns your data. You always own your
so
data. You
yeah, I mean,
control access to your data.
I don't even know if that is a thing at any other training platform, that there's no element of the data that isn't owned a little bit, well, do we just take the company names, we just take the format of the email address, we just take. So if it's nothing, that's great, and I can lean into that in my messaging. And so I have this dashboard that I'll create. Do I show that to my clients? Do I say, here's where my analytics have shown these people are going to maybe benefit from this kind of additional training, advanced training?
Yeah, I think you can, like, as I said, you can have clients that you create profiles for. You can create a corporate profile too, and so you say, hey, if I have clients from these, they're associated with this client, and here's your analytics that you display to them on their analytics page, so that you can set it up that way. So there's
Okay.
multiple ways to do that. You can do it on an individual level. You can do it at a group level. All those analytics can be done. You can do it publicly or privately. We have our own public dashboards, that we present based on publicly accessible information that we send out. Like right now, we have
Mm-hmm.
a COVID dashboard that's
Oh,
publicly accessible. But we also can create private dashboards, or you can create private dashboards for yourselves, share them, with the ones that you want to share them with. So
yeah, I'd love to
the
share that with my
yeah,
own user base, saying like, here's not that I would share the company information, but that I would say of the professionals I've trained in the last 6 months, or even just the last 1 quarter, um, of those people, 33% have said that they admit they use too many words. 21%
guilty.
say that they've been called too direct.
Guilty.
And 17% say that they're afraid of speaking up at work because they think that their ideas will sound stupid. So if that's information that I'm gathering real time in these workshops, in these training workshops, that's data that I can use to then provide valuable insights out to my customer base.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is a really major benefit to going virtual, Right
It
there,
is.
these are the things, like if you're in a room and you just have like the tables and you do the show of hands and you kind of get a
You're not
sense.
collecting it anywhere, right?
No,
Yeah, you
even
get a
when you
sense.
have those like paper things or the surveys that
Or
come
those dial things, like
after,
those audience dial meters.
right? Like you still miss a huge section of the audience who isn't going to do it. But there, when you say, okay, I know there are 200 of you in here, I only have 143 responses, and I can see that right away.
Yeah.
And I can call that out and like encourage until we have them complete, or at least up to a certain amount. Like maybe it's 150 that I make sure that we have before we move on. I'm getting more accurate data in the moment that it's happening in a virtual environment using Zoho Showtime than I would in just a room in a hotel with banquet tables that are set up as six tops.
Yeah. Well, I still miss the banquets of the hotels because they have cheese, right? And that makes you happy.
I mean, you're speaking to my heart. You know you are. Lori
Hopefully
has
we'll get back
asked,
there.
does the personal assistant come with all these integrations? So the possibilities. Actually, yes. I know that I have Zoho Concierge as part. And again, look, if I can afford this, so can you. And so can any enterprise who's watching the budget of what you spend money on to get the greatest outcomes.
Yeah.
So, I can't say enough about the affordability and the accessibility of all the possibilities. And thank you for bringing that up, Lori.
Yeah, Zoho Concierge is a free service and it happens when you get Zoho One. But if you want to go even deeper, there's a deep set of partnerships that we have, and there's a lot of partners that understand Creator better than I do, obviously, and
Oh, good.
other
So then I can
aspects.
have the ideas and they can just do it.
They can go do it, yes. And so that,
Fantastic. This is my favorite thing. My favorite thing, because I'm not like, I have my executing themed strengths are so far down on my list of 34, according to my strengths assessment, and my own UMAP shows me I'm meant to be here and here and like here. And if it's in here, in the typing and the doing and the creating and the like churning things out, it takes me longer than it takes other people. If it's just words, I can write something, I can spew something off in seconds because I've got communication so high up. But if it's about like being in the development of something, even if it's an easy tool, I need someone else to do it. So how does somebody work with those partners? How do you find them? How do you know? How does Zoho vet them? How do you know that they're like good?
well, there are certifications that they have to go through to order to become a partner. So they have to go through
Okay.
that test and requirements to become a certified partner. And you can find them through Keller, your account
Hmm.
manager, as well as through our website, which has we have a partner, find a partner, for what you're trying to accomplish. And so they are vetted, they have training, and you can connect with them through us or through our website. So
I'm going to take a link that Sasha actually sent me backstage. I'm going to put it into a comment here. Can I? Actually, I don't know.
yeah, and
I'll
you're
probably post it later.
And you're very creative. There's people who are very operationally oriented and like to dig into it. And I would say our software is relatively easy to use relative to other integration softwares. And if you want
Yeah,
to self-teach, we have those certifications that you can do for yourselves.
I do
So
not. I would happily pay for like someone else to get certified. I am not somebody
you realize
who
that's a
loves the
unique
process
talent.
of learning.
That creative process that you have is actually something more
Yeah,
rare than the operating thing. So you're gifted with that, and people will
maybe.
seek inspiration from that. But
Thank you.
also, I
Well,
would
and you
say
too, right?
I would look at our customers. So if you look at
Yeah,
our
your
customer
relational team.
testimonials, I'm probably more of a connector. Like the customers that
Hmm.
are as creative, we post a lot of their stories, and you might be able to draw inspiration. If they don't have Lila to inspire them to be creative, they can draw inspiration from our customers as well. So
Yeah, that's
that,
great. And
yeah.
you have so many stories of people who have tried different things in their businesses and have had to recently
Oh
that they would
yeah.
never have before. So, like for example, I saw you shared a post on LinkedIn. I don't know, the other day about this guy Dave Embry from Milo,
Yeah.
subsidiary of Lockton, and the kind of guy he is, and how like just his values as a leader and that company's values, that is where the innovations come from. The circumstances always change for what you happen to need right now.
Yeah.
But when your values as an organization are driving your innovation, it's always right now that you need something. It's never like 3 years from now, I wonder if. So that's one of the reasons why I've really liked working with Zoho. I'm an activator myself. I have no patience, and I'm like, when my values are aligned with amplifying people's voices, then pulling people out of the corners of a virtual room by just giving them a poll to answer means that I'm probably counting more voices than I would if I were counting raised hands.
Yeah.
Because not everybody engages in person. Some people are shyer or just more reluctant to engage publicly. But those people, those voices can be counted in a poll.
Yeah.
And so for people like me, for people like Dave Embry, who we really, really care about the people that we're serving. We want all of the tools and we want them yesterday. And what I love is that when I ask you, could that be a thing? You're like, it's already done. We've already got it at Zoho, Yes, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about Zoho customers? And I'm going to put a link to this up as well. How would people use this?
Yeah, I mean it's amazing. We talk about the need to adapt, especially now and the changing times. And in talking to many customers, what I'm seeing people, especially now, is they're adapting to the environment and they're not giving up. They're just saying, what can I do
Mm-hmm.
with this? And what they're finding is they're doing things that we think that we wouldn't do until 5 years from now. So just
Right.
referencing Dave Embry,
Yeah.
he was saying the week before in early March, he could never imagine that he would send everybody to work from home, and a week later, everybody's working from home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
A
so
week. A week later.
a week later, for
How many
us,
employees does he have?
he has 300 employees, I think.
Oh my
If you
gosh.
But
And
for
was it a
Zoho, we
week
made that decision, and in less than a week, we sent everybody home at
and
Zoho.
you have
9,000 employees.
9,000
Yes,
employees. So
yes.
to have that many employees and to be able to make a decision like that in a week, I mean, that's amazing. That's the speed of innovation,
Circumstances,
right?
I
Yeah.
think circumstances force innovation. So in some cases, sometimes you can drive to it, like you can make, like you said, you can make a 3-year plan and we're going to go here. And other times it's like, we need to survive. We need to thrive. What do we need to do differently? And now companies are adapting to that.
I love
And
what just happened here. I'm going to just pause us for a second because I have a great comment from Heidi Forsyth. And I'm going to pin it here. It's covering our face for a second, but that's fine because I really want people to be able to read this. When running a live session, it pops into the LinkedIn feed. I wonder if there's a way to share the objectives of the session. Otherwise, it feels like I'm eavesdropping on someone's conversation. So yeah, I mean, you can look at the post text, but it gets me thinking about at a training. Sometimes there are people who come in late. I want to be able to pin things. I want to be able
yeah,
to say, like, here's the objective, here's what we're trying to review today. So if I'm in Showtime, I'm going to just ask, can I do it? Can I pin things so that anytime someone comes in, they see things right away?
I don't know. I'm sure that someone listening will help us answer that question. But imagine you had a syllabus, or you had like the objectives of that course,
Yep.
and that was the first piece of media that they
That
had
would be
to
very
look at.
helpful.
They
Yeah.
could click on that and see that, and then catch up right to the conversation where it is,
Hmm.
especially if you had a structured conversation. I know this is, for us,
Right.
this is a very informal conversation, so I don't think that we have an
Well,
agenda
I
that we
could
would get
even do
consistently.
something like pinning a comment. So I could do
Yeah.
something like using Zoho Showtime. Oh my goodness. Now I'm like relying on my typing abilities. Using Zoho Showtime as a tech tool to scale and amplify the voices in a training room. And so I can just put that in chat here and pin it. And I'm using StreamYard to do that. But I would love to be able to do that during a training. I think, like, if somebody, let's say somebody asks a question, um, I think that you can pin a question, like from Q&A, which
Yes.
also means, I could have that question, like I could have someone on my team, even just if
Yeah.
there's
You
not a
can.
way, I could work around.
The questions that are answered are always persistent for the user. So, it shows
Hmm.
the questions that were asked, and you can also show the answers, whether it was
And
answered or not answered. Yeah.
I can do something like pinning a question, like question we're on now, current question. Can I pin a question? Answer, yes. And I'll
I saw
just
that there's
go
pinning
with
is
that.
possible with Zoho Click, and we're investigating whether it's possible in Showtime.
Okay. Well, but
So
also like these are the conversations that you're always having, right? You're having conversations with customers all the time about what are the possibilities, what are the things that they want to be able
yeah.
to do. And then what? Like you're having these conversations all the time. So what happens when you talk to someone about something that they want? Like so
I
far
mean,
it's been that you just ask someone and they're like, yeah, it's already a thing, right? But what if it's not a thing yet?
well, that becomes a question that gets logged into our development. And so, when you think about how development happens in a software company, it's user feedback that drives, the growth of the feature sets of the software. So, where we were known for CRM, it was questions that helped us develop Desk. And as people started to use a CRM and said, how do we communicate with each other? That's how Click or Connect got born. Like no software feature, some software features are born out of the imagination of what would be great, but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of software features are born out of what people need and what people use. And it's through feedback sessions like this. I'm sure that
Yeah.
my colleagues are looking at this and say, that's an interesting thing. Let me add that to the weight of a feature request that we're tracking right now.
Yeah. Or use
So
Zoho Analytics to see how many other people
exactly.
want that
How many
feature,
people
right?
are
Or
looking
Zoho
for this?
survey.
And looking at user engagement and tools and saying what are people using, what are people not using, helps define what we simplify or what we dive deeper into from a software
Cool.
development standpoint.
I like that it's user driven. I mean, it should be, all technology should be, but it actually is.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean, if
there's
you
two
think
things.
about
There's
even just back to work,
a value
right?
driven and there's user driven. The values are not changing. Like for Zoho, it's like
Right.
we want to make things easier, help businesses be more successful, make users more productive, more creative. Those values don't change. Then the feedback from the users help us, verbalize our values in our software, so to speak. Like
Yeah.
how do we make it better?
And take action on those too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're very responsive, like when you created back to work so that people could bring their employees back to work safely. And then I think you're giving that away, right? Through the end of the year.
That's
Just
right.
like, here you go. Here's again, I'm like, how do you make money? Zoho is like, here's this software that you can just go ahead and use so that you stay safe because we just care that you do.
Yeah, even that first week when I said we send everybody home, we launched a product that first week to help people go remote called Remotely, and that was launched the same week when we sent everybody remote because we're
Yeah.
building the same tools for our employees. Why not release that for free to our customers that are struggling with the same things?
Yeah. It's
And do
that
the
need
same.
in the moment.
Yeah, and the need in the moment is like we some of us have to go back to work. We don't have a choice. There's essential workers, especially in manufacturing, that you can't do your work remotely. How do you do it safely? And back to work helps you track for, are you adhering to local compliance? Are you tracking the number of people in the office? Do you have a temperature check or some sort of check-in to know who's in and whether you vetted
That's in there.
Oh yeah, that's all in there. And communication, how do you communicate to everybody effectively so you have a single point of communications? That's the features of back to work.
Got it.
Yeah,
And it
and
sounds
we're
like
giving that away.
these are things that can the companies put things in here
Yeah, they can put in their own compliance
themselves?
requirements themselves. We just
So if
create the
I'm working
structure
with
for
an
them.
enterprise to create a communication plan,
Yeah,
they can work with me to create that, put it inside their own remotely or their own back to work, and then disseminate that to all of their employees.
that's right. I mean, the content is going to be for the depending on the region and the company and the workflow that you have. But how do you make sure everybody gets it? How do you validate that? How do you track the
Mhm.
analytics? How do you show that you're compliant either with your own compliance officer or for if you have local compliance to adhere to those regulations? And
Yeah.
this is software that's just developed, from Creator, but then put in a template that then other companies can use because we
Well,
know
now
that
I'm
they
thinking again, like you did it again, right? I'm like, what? So if we're going back to training as something that people have to do in order to be compliant with coming back to work, there are all kinds of like safety procedures people might have to go through training for. So you could use Zoho Showtime to host that training, and then some kind of compliance tools that you have a checkbox or yes, I've gone through this training.
So you
so
have
that people
survey
can track
too that
that.
you use to test and say, do you
And you
understand
have
all of it?
survey too.
Yes. So that comes with that too. So you can do the survey,
This is my
not
favorite
just for,
conversation.
but to track the users, whether they understood, whether they pass. So
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, I think organizations, most of them that are a certain size, have their own learning management systems where they can put
yeah.
people through it. But when
And
you're
we have
just
an
like,
HR system so that when you want to track on
and
an
you have an
employee
HR.
basis,
Oh,
yes.
so talk to me about that too, in terms of having gone through trainings. How can you track people's personal and professional development as employees? Like you've gone through these trainings in Zoho Showtime. Now in the HR software, how can enterprises see how many Say Things Better trainings has someone gone through? And does that pre-qualify them for a conversation about accelerated leadership development?
Yeah, think about it as master data management of your employees, right?
Hmm.
And so how do you track your employees? How do you connect them? If you have an enterprise directory, how does that connect to different systems? And when you think about Zoho, the great thing is that it's all interconnected. It's all using the same like backend data. And so,
Yeah.
but it's owned by you, and you can determine how you want to connect those different pieces together. So if you have different software from different vendors, then you have to build integrations with each one of them. And
Oh,
and
it just
Zoho's,
sounds like such a hassle.
yeah,
I mean, really.
yeah. In this case, you have a singular platform that includes, even user security. So logging in, like right now, if I log in from any device, I have to do a two-factor authentication, to log in,
Okay.
but that works across the board. But that's my user profile, so it knows, that I'm secure. But if you think about that, you can use that user profile to check for compliance, check for the different things that you want to test for knowledge, the
Yeah, yeah.
certifications that you have, or the levels, but to have it all connected into a singular system. But
These are, I
HR,
think, the ways that like training departments too can use these tools to advocate for themselves
yeah,
as a partner in organizations rather than training departments being seen as sort of order takers. That they can say, like, here is the training. Now let me see your goals. Like, let me see all of your department's goals within our ecosystem that Zoho supports or however they have it. And then being able to see, like, well, what kind of training should we be planning on making? Or what can we propose in order to be a better training partner,
that's right.
being
I got
within that system?
I got some help from my friends here too. Zoho people can track
Okay,
that, and the fields can
awesome.
be customized to
Of
the
course they
company's
can.
needs. Yes. So,
If
but
anybody's
as I said,
watching
if
and
you could,
is not
if
yet
you if you
sensing the
think
need,
about it,
it's
we
like,
probably can create it, right?
if and so I
Or it
am
might already
aware,
be
right,
there.
that I have a lot of questions about, can I do this? I'm like, my imagination is very high level. Clearly, Zoho's imagination is at least one step ahead of me because the answers to every question I've had so far have been yes. That's
Yes, and
possible. And here's how. And we also have this tool, right? Like you can flow from everything you want to do to everything else. And that's great to feel. But I'm the one right now who, I have these questions. I have these, can I do this? What kind of a role does Zoho take in leadership and partnership with people who have trainings that they want to put out? This is what people want, like, but how do they, what kind of level of advice are they getting from Zoho, who's already created these things, about how to use these? What kind of account level conversations do you have?
I mean, we're transforming that right now. We used to have hundreds of Zoholics events throughout the world, so we're operating.
Zoholics.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Zoholics. We have a lot of users that really are excited and addicted to the software that we provide, and so we had hundreds of these events. And now we're figuring out ways to do things more virtually. So how do we? And many different folks at Zoho are hosting different events, whether it's on LinkedIn or on our product, on our webinar platform, or on Meeting. How are we're just connecting to first our customer base, and then connecting to new folks and new industries and new verticals. I just did a manufacturing vertical webinar last week. So we're trying to
Cool.
connect with different segments and different groups in this virtual way using the tools that we have right now. And we have, as I said, 50 different products, and within those, 50 different organizations that peek into the capabilities that we have. And in some ways, Zoho One kind of embraces all those and says, where do you want to start? What do you want to accomplish?
I
Versus
love
what
that.
we have and what do we want you to do. It's more like, all right, Lila, you want to engage with your audience. Let's help you do that. You want to
Yeah,
track it?
that's
All right, we'll
exactly
help
that.
you do that too.
Yeah,
So
and then I get into the habit of saying, well, I also want, and then you get into the habit of saying, yes, you can, and that's my favorite thing. So thank you for, showing me not only that the possibilities that I was curious about are absolutely possible, but that there are so many things I hadn't even thought to think about. Just in this one conversation in the last 50 something minutes, I'm imagining so much scale of my own ability to impact, of my company's ability to reach people and to help people at enterprise level businesses to put their values into action in their communication and otherwise. So really high value conversation for me and everything that I wanted to accomplish, helping people tell the story of themselves and the companies that they work for through intentional communication using technology tools. We meant to talk about Showtime. We covered it so much that we then also talked about 50 billion other things. So thanks for going with me on that and for being flexible.
it's always a pleasure. Thank you,
Yeah.
Lila.
Well, if anybody else has any other questions, you can go to Zoho's website and you can see lots of at zoho.com and you can see lots of those different things that we mentioned before. There was Zoho Concierge, there was Zoho Remotely, Zoho Back to Work, Zoho, Showtime. You get it. So go and find out what all of these tools are and what can help you to scale out your vision and mission at your company so that you can take care of the people that you serve in your way. Thank you again, Ed, and thanks to the audience for being here with me. And another one of these Let's Explore Lila's Imagination conversations. Really appreciate you so much.